Hey, what is up everyone? So in today's video we're going to go over everything that's coming out for Sea of Thieves Season 17 for this first month. This update's releasing on August 14th, which is only a couple days from now from the time of this posting. So for this video I'm going to give you a rundown of everything you need to know about what's coming out with this upcoming update. So obviously the Smugglers League is going to be like the new type of NPCs that are going to be added for this season. They are a group of ragtag individuals, and they'll be making a permanent edition, so it's not just for the season. They're not an official trading company, which I think is very disappointing for a lot of people that have maxed out, say, the Merchants Alliance and other trading companies. I think a lot of people are looking forward to having something new to progress. I also was looking forward to having something new to progress, but these are not going to be a trading company that gives you reputation or anything like that. So it's just gold and stuff that you'll earn from them, which I think is a bit of a bummer. You'll be able to use these characters as permanent cash-in points for specific smuggler-specific bounty, as well as a start and end point for Smuggler Runs, which is the new type of voyage, which we'll talk about in a moment. Right off the bat, though, I feel like there's a big missed opportunity with the Smugglers League, where you could either reuse the doubloon system that we already have in the game, or potentially make a whole new type of currency, specific currency tied to the smuggler actions, and then have a specific store for them where it has unique cosmetics. That I think would have made it a little bit more interesting and made it so that there was still a reason to keep doing these smuggler activities even after the initial hype is over. But as it's currently set up, I don't really think gold is enough to really make this addition interesting. So let's talk about the Smuggler Hideouts. So these are new type of turn-in spots that are not on the outpost. So unlike basically everything else outside of Reapers, these are going to be on their own thing. They're not going to be at the outpost islands. There's going to be 6 of them in total, 2 in the wilds, 2 in the shores of plenty, and 2 in the ancient isles. I'm curious if when we get to season 18, which we know is going to be a Devil's Roar update, if we're going to get an additional smuggler hideout there. Could be a good idea. But you'll be able to see them on the ship's map to identify that they house hideouts, but these hideouts have included deadly traps, ensuring that only cunning smugglers can gain entry. The only thing that I don't really like about that is I think that's going to be a real pain to try to go sell at if you have to deal with like traps and stuff. The traps might be pretty easy to go through, but if you're, trying to smuggle through a keg or something like that, and you like get all the way there, you do your whole different voyage and stuff, and then at the very end you get hit with the trap and that blows up your keg, that's going to be pretty frustrating, and I think that could turn off some people from this. But we'll keep an open mind to that. In terms of the storyline, I don't know how many people care too much about the lore of this because I feel like it's not that significant for this season. But the lore for this is basically the arrival of the smugglers has stoked an arms race with new explosive cargo hitting the seas and existing weaponry becoming more common. The Smugglers League specializes in carrying cargo that trading companies wouldn't dream of touching. You'll be able to learn the motivations behind the league via talking with each of the new characters. This is at the hideouts, of course. There's going to be new lore books, and these can be found through waterlogged ship journals. So don't worry if you're late to the season or even miss the season altogether, you'll still be able to engage with stories, the Smuggler's storyline, as it's all permanent content. So, that's fine, I guess. I don't think it's going to be that enticing unless they, use it to set up something like the Dark Brethren returning in a more impactful way or something like that. It just kind of feels like a very generic type of lore to me, just to kind of justify the season features. But let's get into, I think, probably the only thing that's specifically new with this update, which is the Smugglers Runs, which are new type of voyages. While the Smugglers League may not be a trading company, they got smuggling activities for you to enjoy. The Smugglers Run is a permanent edition which has you ferrying smugglers-specific goodies between smuggler hideouts. So think similar to how you have like the trade routes for the Merchants Alliance, where you're going from like one outpost to another. It's similar to that, but between the smuggler hideouts. The Gold Smuggler Run is the high risk but high reward one. This voyage can be started from the quest table as predefined route. The route will always be marked on the ship's map table, allowing pesky pirates to intercept your cargo. The Merchant Smuggler Runs, basically the ship in a bottle, or the bottle voyages, are being acquired via rare black message in the bottles. This includes similar routes to the standard Smugglers Run, but payout is substantial. Fine, I'm in. Sure. I I guess going back to that Smuggler's Run, I'm not looking forward to it at all. I just don't see it as that different from what we already have with the Merchants Alliance voyages. Is there really anything that substantial with these Smuggler Runs outside of it just being more dangerous for you to do? If the whole idea is that I'm carrying around gunpowder kegs and other things that are easy to break, like there's new like glass bottles or whatever that can be broken, just like the merchants ones we already had. Why would I choose to do that when I could go do a sea fort or lost shipment voyage or any other voyage that would be safer to do, but also probably make more money in a shorter amount of time? We'll have to see how much it makes. Maybe it's a huge amount, but I just don't really see it worth doing on your own. As well as I don't really see it being worth stealing, because if you try to go steal someone that is doing the keg voyages, for example, so they have like these massive explosive kegs on their ship. The only way that you can actually steal that from them is you have to board them and take it off their ship. If you even just shoot your cannon, a few times at them to try to sink them, you are at risk and most likely will explode those kegs. So then all the treasure is gone and it's not worth doing anymore. Especially with this not having an emissary like the other trading companies, and I really just struggle to see the relevance of these voyages. But I'm open to being wrong. Next we got black powder barrels. This is a thing we've seen in all the trailers and stuff, and what we've talked about significantly in the past. The Smugglers League have brought a brand new explosive weapon, the black powder barrel. This brings riches or ruin depending on your preference. It's a much larger explosive than regular kegs and more closely resembles a resource barrel. This barrel is so dangerous that the merchants won't touch it, and only the Smugglers League will accept it, or you could use it to create mayhem, your call. And you'll be able to find this permanent weapon scattered throughout the Season 17 activities, and it will remain a permanent addition to the seas. Again, I don't really know if we needed a more powerful keg in the game. I feel like the current kegs that we have are good enough. But it could be fun for, the handful of clips that you can get with it. Moving on, we have some stuff that's going to be more like updates to existing things, but they're kind of calling them new features. First, we have the Smuggler Rex, which, while stay on the seas, you'll be able to find Smuggler Rex. These are vessels that are sunk while in smuggling business. Basically just the sunken shipwrecks that we already currently have in the game, but just kind of revamped a bit. For the duration of Season 17, all the shipwrecks will be replaced by Smugglers Rex, and it'll be rare to find the shipwrecks have traditionally been. And then once the season's over, shipwrecks will come back, and it'll just be more of a rare thing to see. These wrecks will contain an assortment of high-value loot, like unique ship journals that can be returned to the Smugglers League, assortment of weapons, including but not limited to the Obsidian Ashen Wind Skulls, Horn of Fair Winds, and Black Powder Barrels. I personally just don't like getting kegs as treasure items or like a reward. Whenever I see them, I always leave them, whether it's a shipwreck or like a vault or whatever the case may be. But stuff like the Horn of Fair Winds, that's nice, but we already had that in the regular shipwrecks, so that's not that special. And the Obsidian Ashen Wind Skulls aren't that valuable either. So I'm hoping the Smugglers Rex are a little bit better. They also have added breathable zones to the Smugglers Rex, which is a huge plus, because I always hated doing the regular shipwrecks right now, because unless it's like above water, you start drowning pretty quickly, so it's kind of hard to explore them that effectively. So that's a good change. And they're also making it so that Reaper chests and Reaper bounties can only be discovered in these wrecks, which I guess that means they're taking it out of the Fort of the Dam, which I don't really like that they're taking the Reaper chest out of the Fort of the Dam for the season. I don't think that's a good idea, but sure. I think I have pinned one of these. So this goes a little bit more in detail about what we're getting with the Smuggler Shipwrecks, so we can look at that real quick. Most of it is the same thing that we just talked about, but right here kind of goes over all the stuff that you can find in it, which I think is somewhat interesting for the purposes of this topic. So you can get the black powder barrels like we already talked about. One of the new items is the gold framed fine art painting, so I'm curious to see how much that is actually worth. Same with the crate of golden greed. And then the Smuggler Chronicle is a new type of treasure item that can be handed to the smugglers. In addition, it's an item that can be wielded, and it has readable interactive prompts that reveal stories about the Smuggler League. I think this is a cool addition, actually, in terms of a good treasure item. I hope we get more stuff like this, where it's more of like a lore book, but it's still a piece of treasure. My only question is, will people actually care to sell it? So we currently have like the captain's log books that you get from sinking someone that has a captain ship, and since you can only sell those at Reaper's Hideout, you often see them left, just either floating in the water or they're left at an outpost at a turn-in spot because they can't be turned in except for at Reaper's Hideout. And then even if you went to Reaper's Hideout, it's so low value that it's not even really worth taking all the way there. So I hope that it's valuable enough to be worth going and trying to turn it into a smuggler for. You also get the Obsidian Ashen Wind Skull and the Skull Siren Song. This was the one that really kind of flagged me because I don't know how you're actually going to make the Skull Siren Song work. I guess, so they say that I guess eventually will be able to be sold to the Smugglers League, but then that's kind of weird because that's so far only been able to been turned into Briggsy. If you can start turning in the Skull Siren Song to the Smugglers League, that might change up the actual voyage itself. So if you could, avoid having to go to a specific turn-in spot and you had to go and search for Briggsy, maybe more people will do the Skull Siren Song going forward. Could be interesting. Maybe this is like a first step for them to kind of revamp that voyage since they know that that hasn't really done too well so far. So that covers the shipwrecks. I think it's a fine revamp, but I wouldn't even really call that a new feature. That's more just giving a fresh coat of paint to something that already exists. Next we have the Smuggler Cachets. As a result of the Smuggler Rex having an accident, you'll notice that debris from these shipwrecks have started washing ashore. Yeah, sure. Smuggler Cachets grant you access to loot traditionally found on shipwrecks but on land, while the whole may not be as plentiful. It's just basically washed up treasure. The thing that really annoys me with Season 17 is that they try to list these things as features, but they're really just like footnotes on updates of the past. Like, so when we had like updates like even with Season 6 or the Heart of Fire update, if they made a change like this would be like a footnote at the end of the patch notes. This isn't like a headlining feature of the season. Whereas now they're trying to make all these different fresh coats of paint feel like something like way bigger than it actually is. I haven't really seen anything here to get super excited about for Season 17. Next up, we have the skeleton ships. So they've also got an update for the duration of Season 17. You'll be able to find them with black powder barrels, and you can try to board them to claim it, or you can just use it to sink them. Let's be quite honest, most people are not going to go try to board a skeleton ship just to get these black powder barrels. They're just probably going to use it to sink them and just shoot the cannon. Most of the time, whenever I'm fighting a skeleton ship, I don't even realize that they have gunpowder kegs on them until I shoot a cannon at them and then they explode. So I don't know if I have anything else here that kind of goes over that. I think I might have saved it. Yeah. So the loot that you can get on the skeleton ships is basically the same as the shipwrecks. So that's good, I guess. There's different chances for these. A lot of these have high chance, but the black powder barrels will always be on there. So I guess the good news is if you see a skeleton ship in the world during Season 17, you might as well just always go against the skeleton ship, because you know if you hit your cannons at some point on that ship, it's probably going to have a huge explosion. And I think that might be one of the best plays. If you haven't gotten your accommodations done for the skeleton ships, or you just want to try to get these, pieces of treasure, this might be the best strat for Season 17 from what I'm seeing so far. And then finally, the last big update that we have here is with the Reaper rowboats making a return for Season 17, and then they should be available as permanent additions, but they're going to be increased spawn rate for Season 17. I'm excited for these to return, but like I talked about in past videos, these probably should have returned for Season 16. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe they weren't ready for it for some reason, but they're Reaper rowboats. They probably should have came back in the Reaper season for Season 16. So that's all the new additions that we're getting in the first month. So in a couple weeks for August's update, we're gonna get all these new additions to the game. If these were just, if you're just asking me whether or not these are good changes or bad changes, I think they're good changes for the game. But I don't think it's enough to carry a season. Even when we're going to talk about the other two stuff that's things that are going to be added for the season, for the second and third month, it's still not enough, in my opinion. We needed something genuinely new for Season 17, but I don't know what they have going on with the teams back there, because if you don't know how Rare has their season team set up for developing the new seasons and updates, at the best, as far as I'm aware, they basically have them staggered. So you have like one team that does like 15 and 17, and then another team that does the seasons after, so 16 and 18. So the people that made the Hunter's Call update for season 15 made this update, and the people that made the Reaper season for the current season, we're in season 16, are working on season 18. I'm wondering if for season 18 we'll get more significant stuff, because from what I've seen from the group that's making the season 15 and season 17 updates, they really just focus on taking stuff that already exists in the game and then just kind of giving it a fresh coat of paint. We saw that with the Ancient Megalodons in season 15 and other additions from that season. So I think they need to work on that. I'm kind of getting tired of this trend of seeing stuff that's not really new in the game, but they just give a fresh coat of paint and act like it's new. So I'm not too impressed